Good day, gentle brothers and sisters. I welcome you to our lesson for today. My name is Tsapo Jonas Matoha. Our learning topic for the day is social sciences, and we'll be focusing on the geography aspect of social sciences. The learning topic for the day is latitude and longitude lines. This is based on map work. Now, you may be wondering how people get from place to place without any directions. There are often means to get to a place from another place, such as a compass, a map, and so forth. Now, in our lesson, we'll be focusing on lines of latitude and how they cross and define direction, or how they provide us with direction. There are imaginary lines that run horizontally meaning from left to right, or it can be said from side to side. As indicated in the diagram provided, we have lines crossing from the left hand side going to the right hand side, in both hemispheres, the south hemisphere and the north hemisphere. The equator is at the center of the globe and is the longest line of latitude. Using a darker and a more thicker line, I've indicated the equator in the middle of the globe, or in the middle of our diagram or circle represented as the globe. The lines of latitude are referred to in degrees north or south of the equator. The lines of latitude run from 0 degrees to 90 degrees north or south of the equator. Other imaginary lines run up and down between the North Pole and the South Pole. These are called meridians. The Greenwich meridian is at 0 degrees. Lines of longitude are referred to in degrees, east or west of the Greenwich meridian. Lines of longitude run from 0 to 180 degrees east or west of the Greenwich meridian. The Greenwich meridian in our diagram indicated on the right hand side, you can see, has been indicated using a blue line from the South Pole to the North Pole. And then to distinct the sides or the lines of meridian that run from 0 degrees to 180 degrees from south to north has been also distincted on the left hand side through a that we are able to read, saying it's the west, and then on the other side it's also been indicated through the marking that we are able to read east. So we now know that there are 4 spheres, or the hemisphere can be divided into 4 spheres. We have the northern hemisphere, we have the southern hemisphere, we have the eastern hemisphere, we have the western hemisphere. Now, I want us to pay more detail and attention to hemispheres. Both diagrams represent halves, or how hemispheres are able to be divided. In the first picture above, we have the hemisphere being divided into north and south hemispheres, while in the second picture below, we have the west and the eastern hemispheres being divided into 2. Let's read more about hemispheres. The Earth is divided into 2 hemispheres. The word hemi means half. That's why we are able to get a sense of how the hemispheres are divided into north and south, east and west. The northern hemisphere is between the equator, which is in the middle of the globe, and the North Pole, whilst the southern hemisphere is between the equator and the South Pole. The Earth can further be divided into eastern and western hemispheres. Now, let's pay attention to the 2 pictures appearing on the right hand side. On the right hand side, I've used an orange color to mark how the northern hemisphere pulls towards the North Pole. I've used an orange color to indicate. Again, focusing at the picture on the top, I've used the blue color to indicate how the southern hemisphere pulls towards the North Pole from the equator. Again, I want us to focus at the picture below, where I've made representations using the green color of how the Western Hemisphere divides from the Eastern Hemisphere, which I've indicated using a red color. So you can see how parts of the hemisphere can be divided. As we said, the Earth can further be divided into Eastern and Western hemispheres. Now, what do we use for direction? What tools do we need to get direction? Often we have varying navigational tools such as a compass, a map, and a globe. While we were focusing at hemispheres, we recorded that the hemisphere can be divided into four equal sides. We have your north, you have your south, you have your west, you have your east. But before we go into greater detail about what a compass is, I want us to note other points that appear in small letters. Above, towards the northern side, we have your northeast indicated using small letters NE, and then on the left hand side, also towards the north, you have your northwest indicating the direction. Towards the south, you have your intercardinal points or direction indicating the southwest. We also have intercardinal directions or points indicating southeast. Now, let's get into greater detail about what the compass is and how it's been developed, how far, and what is its purpose in our lives. A compass is a device used for navigation. It is one of 4 great inventions from ancient China. It was first used in China by the Han Dynasty between 20 BC and 20 AD. A compass shows you the relative direction of one of the 4 cardinal directions. The 4 cardinal directions, as mentioned, are north, south, east, and west. A compass rose diagram can contain the 4 cardinal directions and may also include the 4 intercardinal directions and even the 8 secondary intercardinal directions. While we were looking at the diagram, we talked a bit about the words noted in small letters. We now understand that the words noted in small letters are referred to as intercardinal directions or points. Now, what's the use of this? We'll get into it more into greater detail as we continue with our lesson. Now, another navigational tool I want us to focus at are maps. Now, on the left hand side, I've provided an image of an early map made in 1655 so that we can get an idea of how long maps have existed. Remember now, direction is relative and important for us to get to places that we do not know the destinations to. So through a map, through a compass, we are able to find those direction or the place much more easier and faster. Maps. Let's gain more detail and understanding about maps. A map is an image of an area, usually of the Earth or part of the Earth. The word map can also be used to talk about a chart or the drawing that shows relationships between ideas, people, events, or anything else you can think about. Many maps today are made using GIS computer systems. These are database systems that organize by location instead of name records. People who make maps are called cartographers. Now, in our next lesson, I said directions are important. How do we get to a place? I want you to look at the picture provided on the right hand side of a man holding the big ball or the big circle. The big circle or the big ball is referred to as a terrestrial globe. The reason the man is holding it, or the importance of a terrestrial globe, is for it to give us direction to a certain place and for us to show the details of that place. Let's get into more detail about the terrestrial globe, what it is, how it functions, and what's its purpose in our lives. The word globe comes from the Latin word globus, meaning sphere. A globe is a spherical model of Earth. It serves similar purposes to maps, but unlike maps, globes do not distort the surface that they portray except to scale it down. A globe of Earth is called a terrestrial globe. A globe shows the details of its subjects. A terrestrial globe shows land masses, water bodies. It may also show the nations and prominent cities and the network of latitude and longitude lines as represented. Thank you very much for joining us in our lesson. I hope you learned a great deal about latitude and longitude lines in this lesson. Thank you so much. I hope to see you again in our next lesson.